I'm Sara Raymond with The Mindful Movement. Thanks so much for checking out the channel and this yoga video. Today's practice is going to be a full, well-rounded video, about 50 minutes or so. It's going to help you to get your body moving in the beginning of the day, or maybe even at a midday, just to boost some energy. Make sure you take any modifications you need for your body to make sure that you're safe and everything feels good. I really hope you enjoy the video. Let's roll out the mat and get started. Okay, everyone, we're going to start with a little breathing practice. So if you're comfortable seated, great. If you prefer to lie down, that's a great option as well. And know that during the practice, if you need to modify or change anything, please feel free to do that. This is really for you, not me. So find a comfortable position. Close your eyes. We'll turn our palms upward and begin to simply bring your attention to your breath without making any changes. Just notice what's showing up for you right now. Notice the sensations that happen with the breathing. Perhaps you feel a rise and fall of the chest. Perhaps you feel a natural, relaxing sensation with each exhale. Now begin to deepen your breath. In through the nose, filling up your belly, your ribs, and your chest all the way up through the collarbones. Breathing out through the nose or the mouth, feeling the body relax. And continue breathing in and out slowly, deepening your breath. Inviting in the relaxation, the process of letting go of any tension that might be left over from the day before, perhaps worry about the day ahead. Leave all of that behind and be here now. As we take a few more moments to connect inward with our breath, take this opportunity to set an intention. Any quality you would like to cultivate for the practice. It's a quality that not only can run through the practice today, but also through life. So we find what we do on the mat, we do in life. And if you find nothing's coming to you for an intention, perhaps choose simply being in the present moment. Staying connected with your breath as we move together. We'll take one more deep breath in and out together. Solidifying our intention. And as we begin to move, you can feel free to keep your eyes closed if you wish, or gently blink them open. So come to seated if you're not already. Let's bring our hands to our knees and begin to round the back as we exhale into a seated cat, and then tipping the chest forward, arching the back, seated cow. So moving with the breath, exhaling and inhaling. Taking this first movement of the practice to really connect the breath and the movement. We'll do one more in each direction here. Coming back to center, and then creating some circles with the spine and pelvis, rotating around. Take one more, just beginning to loosen things up, and then reversing the direction. Staying present with the breath, with your movement. It's okay if your mind wanders a bit. Just bring it back to the breath, back to your movement. And then when you come around to the center again, we'll reset in the middle. We'll take the left hand around to the right knee, the right fingertips just lightly behind to help elongate the spine. And then as we exhale, we'll turn to the right, looking over the right shoulder, if that feels okay for your neck. Take a breath in, feel the spine grow a little taller. And then exhale, perhaps twist a little farther. And then coming back to center, switching sides. Right hand to the left knee, left fingertips behind to elongate the spine, and then rotating around. Finding ease in your seated posture. Using the breath to help twist a little deeper. And then coming back to center, we'll take that left hand back to the right thigh again, and then we'll side bend. So reaching up long through the right side. Try to keep anchoring the right sit bone down onto the mat. And hold there. Sense the breath filling up the right side body and softening into it. And then coming back up, switching sides. The right hand across to the left knee, left hand up. We'll keep anchoring down that left hip. Breathing in again, using the breath to lengthen the left side. And breathing out. And then coming back up. And we'll move into all fours. So taking your time, bringing the hands under the shoulders and the knees under the hips. Moving again into a cat-cow. So as we exhale, we'll round the spine. So we feel the tail tuck, the chin tuck, the belly rise. And then as we inhale, we'll lift the tail up, lift the head up. So the whole spine moves in one fluid movement. So beginning to move with your breath, exhaling as you round, inhaling as you arch. If you feel the need to stay in one motion, one position for a little longer, you're welcome to do that. Remember, this is your practice. And the next time we get to cat, we'll take it into some rib circles. So staying in that rounded back, we'll press the ribs over to the right, then arch through the center, through the cow pose, moving the ribs over to the left and then around again. So we'll stay in that direction, rounding, circling the ribs, warming up. And one more in that direction. We come back to that cat pose, we'll reverse. So the ribs go over to the left, down through center, over to the right, and up. Take your time if you want to go a little slower, pausing at any point that feels good, you can do that. And then we'll do one more in that direction. And then just settle yourself back into your flat back. So elongating head to tail. And then we're going to start to circle just the hips. So they circle around toward the heels and then toward the wrists. Loosening up the hip joints. There may be some tightness or tension in that area. So if you feel like you want to pause in a tight spot, breathe in. See if you can soften into it a little more, and then continue around. And the next time you come back through the middle, let's reverse the direction. So finding all the juicy edges of the circles. Loosening up, getting the blood flow to the hips. If you spend any time sitting, you might feel some tightness there. I think we all spend probably too much time sitting. And then when you come back to center, we'll regroup in our all fours position. And then from there, holding our abdominals up and in to support our posture, we'll reach one arm and opposite leg out. Think of lifting up out of the supporting limbs and then floating that hand and knee back down. So with as little shifting as you can, alternating sides. So the exhale helps support your posture as you reach out, and inhale, floating the hand and knee back down. One more on each side here. And then when we get back to the first side, you're going to bend the knee and see if you can reach around and either just reach towards the foot, or if you can grab the ankle or foot, grab hold of it. And then we're going to press the foot into the hand to help open up the chest. So it's a very gentle back bend. And then releasing from there, lowering the hand and knee back down. Going to the other side, reaching long first. Lifting up the posture, and then bending the knee and grabbing for that foot. So we'll kick the foot into the hand, again using that to lift the chest into a gentle back bend. And then releasing the stretch and lowering down. And then we'll come into a child's pose. So you can either have your knees together if that's comfortable, or you can keep your feet together and open the knees wide. And then either way, we'll sit back onto our heels, stretch the arms out long, and then rest the forehead down on the mat. And we'll stay here for about 3 deep breaths. And then from there, if your knees are apart, let's bring them back together. So from your child's pose position, we'll start with our exhale, rounding up through cat pose, and then allowing the hips to come forward as we come into a modified up dog. So reaching the chest through the arms with the inhale, and then exhale, we'll tuck the tail and the chin to round the whole spine through cat, and then inhaling back to child's pose. So that's going to be the flow. We'll do about 4 more. So exhaling, rounding up, inhaling into our modified up dog. So the knees are down, taking that gentle back bend, and then exhaling again, rounding through cat, inhaling into child's pose. So let's flow with the breath. Exhaling, rounding cat. Inhaling, arching into the modified up dog. Exhaling, cat. Inhaling, child's pose. And we'll do 2 more, rounding up through that exhale. Inhaling into modified up dog. Lifting tall through your posture. Exhaling through cat. And inhaling into child's pose. One last sequence through here, rounding up through cat. Just moving the spine, starting to warm things up. Using the abdominals to lift you up through that round spine. Inhaling into child's pose. Let's hold here again, 2 to 3 breaths. And then taking it into a side bend. So the hands will crawl over to the right side, lengthening that left side body. So reaching left fingers forward, left hip back, Breathing into the left side body once more. And we'll come back across the center, evening out, and then moving over to the other side. So the hands go to the left, but reaching a little longer through the right side body. Right fingertips forward, right hip back. And then coming back to center. Leveling out. Holding there for another 2 or 3 breaths. Revisiting your intention if you set one. Just coming back to your center, your present moment. And then we'll all make our way back to downward dog. So the hands will stretch out long, fingers wide, lifting up enough to curl the toes under. And as we lift up at first, we'll keep the knees bent so we can begin to press the ribs back, the chest toward the thighs. And then once you establish the position of the upper body, we can begin to maybe pedal the heels if that feels good for your body. Just slowly beginning to lengthen through the back of the legs. And then eventually we'll settle into downward dog. Holding here for 3 to 5 full deep breaths. Using this posture to come back to if you need a rest, or if you just need to regroup. Or child's pose is always a nice rest option if you need it. All right, we'll begin our first flow sequence. So the right leg will lift up, and then we'll step the right foot all the way through to the front of the mat. And then reaching long through the spine, the arms rise up into a crescent lunge. Feel free to put your knee down if you need. Good. And then from there, we're going to turn the back heel down, open up to warrior 2, and then coming into reverse warrior towards the back leg, breathing into the side body, and then coming forward towards that front leg into side angle. So the right forearm lands lightly, shoulders reach down away from the ear, and the heart is spinning up towards the ceiling. And then coming back to warrior 2, we'll lift the back heel, spin the hands down, and then stepping back to downward dog. So again, anytime you feel the need to pedal the heels or rotate the shoulders or the hips, just let this be a little bit of an exploration for your body. Or you can always come down to child's pose. And then from there, we'll lift the left leg up. And then step the left hand to the front of the mat between the hands. That's your foot. I think I said hand. And then rising up. That probably won't be the last time I say the wrong body part. And then taking that back heel down into warrior 2. So on warrior 2, the hips are square towards the longer side of the mat. Shoulders are square. We're gazing out over the front hand. And then moving into reverse warrior towards the back leg. So expanding through the side body here as you breathe in. And then coming to side angle pose. So just lightly landing both shoulders away from the ears. And we're turning and opening our heart towards the ceiling. Coming back to warrior 2 momentarily. And then lifting the back heel, bring the hands down. We'll step back to downward dog. So taking a couple breaths here between our sides. And then we'll come forward into a plank pose, just shoulders over wrists, lower the knees down, and we'll take a modified chaturanga down. So the elbows are pointing back as we lower, belly and chest land at the same time. When you get to the bottom, we'll bring our elbows forward under our shoulders, roll the shoulders back and down into Sphinx pose. So taking this gentle back bend, reaching the heart forward. Breathing in and breathing out. And then taking the hands back under the shoulders, drawing the abdominals in for support as you lift up and back to downward dog. And then we'll go through that sequence once more on each side. So starting with the right leg up, stepping it through, lifting up, big breath in as you rise up for crescent lunge. And then as we breathe out, we'll go into our warrior two. And then reversing the warrior and into side angle. Back to warrior two for a moment. And then lifting the back heel, spin the hands down, step back to downward dog. 3 to 5 nice deep breaths here. And if you need to come down into child's pose for rest, you can do that. Lifting our left leg up, step the left foot through to the hands. Big breath in as we lengthen up through crescent lunge. Turning the back heel down, opening the hips and the shoulders to warrior two. Gazing over the front fingers. Big breath in as we reverse the warrior towards the back leg. And exhale, side angle. Opening the heart towards the ceiling. Back to warrior two for a moment. And then lifting the back heel, hands frame the front foot. And we'll step back to downward dog. And we'll take one more modified vinyasa here. Coming forward over our wrists for plank. Lowering the knees down, lowering the body down. And then bringing our elbows forward into Sphinx pose. Rolling the shoulders back. Pressing the posture up, reaching the heart forward. Breathing in as we open our chest, open our shoulders here. And then the hands will come back down. And now let's go ahead and press back to child's pose. Taking a couple deep breaths here. If your shoulders are feeling tired, you can always bring your hands back by your feet and let them rest. Let's take one more breath here in child's pose before we move on to our next flow sequence. So outstretching the arms if they're not already, spreading the fingers wide. We'll lift up to downward dog. And then from there, walking the feet to the hands, coming to a forward fold. Letting the upper body hang, perhaps bending the knees enough that you can rest your ribs on your thighs and just relax here. And then bringing the hands to the shins, lifting the head and the heart, rolling the shoulders back for our half lift or flat back. And then folding again. And then coming through the flat back, all the way up to standing. Joining the hands together and then bringing them down to chest center. Close the eyes and take 2 deep centering breaths as we come to mountain pose for the first time during our practice. Perhaps revisiting your intention and then blinking the eyes open. We'll take a big breath in. And then bringing the hands once more to the heart center. We're going to step the right leg back just about halfway, and the heel will turn in a little. So it's a pretty short stance so that we can keep the hips facing the front of the mat. If you're feeling any torquing in the back knee, you can always step your right foot a little wider to the right. That'll help keep your hips square towards the front of the mat. Bending our left knee, we'll reach the arms first up, for a short stance, warrior one. And then we'll take the hands together behind the back, bringing the elbows towards each other, reaching the arms down for a chest expansion of the upper body. And then from there, straightening the left knee, keep squaring the hips, and we're going to hinge forward over the front leg. So we're aiming to keep our back flat. As you go, you may have to pull your left hip back and your right hip forward. And once you can't go any farther with your back flat, we walk down the leg. The hands can be supported on the thigh or the shin, or if you have a block, you can use that, or the floor. We'll hold here in pyramid pose, allowing the body to soften into this variation on a forward fold. And then from there, beginning to bring our weight into our left foot. So the hands can stay on the floor as we lift our right leg. Aim to square the hips again. And if you have a block, you can use a block under the hands. We can bring the hands, or we can fall over. We can bring the hands to chest center. There we go. See, we all have to fall down sometimes. The key is getting back up. We can also bring the arms back, or if you're comfortable, arms overhead for your full warrior three. And then from there, just a gentle step back to a lunge. We'll take the right hand down to the floor or a block, and then turning the chest to the left, reaching the left hand up. We're in our twisted lunge. And then from there, unwinding, lifting ourselves up. We're going to come into triangle pose. So the back heel is down, the hips are facing the long side of the mat. And then as we reach our arms out, we'll tip the front hip down. And then reach a little farther through that left hand, lengthen the left side of the body. And then find a place to rest your hand. So it could be on your thigh, could be on your shin, a block, or if you can keep your left waist straight, it can go down to the floor. So you choose what feels best, most productive for your body. And then bending that knee to come up, and we'll take the hands down and step back to downward dog. Pedaling the heels, if that feels good. Resting in child's pose, if that feels good. And then we'll make our way back to the front of the mat, finding our forward fold once more. Inhaling, halfway flat back. So the shoulders are rolling back, connecting through the back body. And then folding forward. Inhaling to circle the arms up. And then bringing the hands down to chest center. Closing the eyes once more. Revisiting your intention, centering the body, whatever you need in this moment. Blinking the eyes open, big breath in. And stepping the left foot back. We'll step halfway back, so it's a short stance. The legs are a little on the wider side if you need, so that you can keep your hips pointing forward. The right knee bends. And at first we'll reach the arms up into warrior one. And then taking the hands together at the low back. Elbows reach towards each other, opening the heart a little more. And then moving into pyramid pose. So straightening the right leg. We'll try to keep squaring the hips forward, hinging at the hips. So again, you may have to pull your right hip back, left hip forward. Keep working that square pelvis as we go down. Finding somewhere for your hands to be supported, either on the thigh or the shin or the floor if you can reach. Whatever feels best, most productive for your body today. And then working our way into warrior three. The weight will shift into the right leg. And as you actively lift that left leg, flex the ankle, and then you can either keep your hands on the floor or we attempt to come up. Hands will come to chest center perhaps, or reaching back, rolling the shoulders back and down. So I like this variation to connect to the back of the body, or perhaps you'd like to reach your arms forward. We'll gently start to bend the right knee, lower down into our lunge, and then taking our twist. So the left hand goes down just inside of the right foot, and we twist the upper body to the right, reaching the right arm up. And then untwisting the trunk, we'll bring that back heel down and come up into triangle pose. So our right knee straightens, our hips drop down, and then we'll reach forward, really lengthen that right side waist. And then as we tip over, the right hand finds a place to rest. It may be on your shin, it may be on the floor, or up towards a block. And then we turn our gaze towards the top fingers, if that feels okay for your neck. You may find there's a difference between your sides, and that's okay. Bending that front knee, coming up. And then we'll take the hands down and step back to downward dog. Let's go ahead and lower the knees, either together or apart for child's pose. And again, perhaps taking the hands back towards your feet. If your shoulders are a little tired. Coming to your breath here. And then from there, let's reach our hands forward again. Spread the fingers out wide. Curling the toes under, coming to downward dog. And then from there, we'll walk our feet forward once more to our forward fold. Coming into our flat back as we breathe in. And exhale, folding, melting down. Inhale, coming through the flat back to come up. And then bringing the hands down. All right, moving into our balance section. We'll come to the center of the mat, finding our tall posture. So tree pose first. We'll stand our weight into our left foot and then turning our right leg out. So we may choose to keep the right toes down and just place the right heel on the ankle or calf. Or perhaps we take the foot to the shin. Or maybe, if it's in your practice, to lift the foot all the way up. So you choose what works best for your body. We'll take a breath in, lift the arms, and then bringing the hands down to chest center. Feel a sensation of rooting down through the standing foot and reaching up through the crown of the head. And then moving into dancer pose, we're gonna bring that right knee back in. Take our right hand out. So the palm is gonna face the side. And then we'll grab the inside of the foot. So maybe we stay here. Maybe we kick the foot into the hand like we did in our warm-up. And maybe we reach that left arm out. If you find you fall out of the pose, just come back in when you're ready. And then carefully coming up. We'll take that right, maybe not. Take that right ankle over the left thigh, bending at the hips here. Hands can either reach forward. If your shoulders are a little tired, you can bring your hands to chest center. It's also a nice way to connect the energy through the midline. Sinking down in our standing pigeon variation. Take one more breath here. And then carefully making our way out of it. Maybe shaking out the legs if they're a little tired. Moving to the second side. So our weight will go into our right foot. And we choose tree on the second side. So again, toes can stay on the floor. Little kickstand for your balance. or to the shin or above the knee. So avoid going sideways on the knee. Let's take a breath in, connecting the hands. Good. Perhaps finding a focal point that's not moving to help bring your attention to one point. And then moving into dancer pose here. So left hand out, palm faces away from you, so the shoulder is nice and open as you catch the inside of the foot. So you take the version of dancer that feels best for you today. And then coming up, our final balance pose on the side is our standing pigeon variation. So either hands at chest center or reaching your arms forward, settling back into your posture. Lengthening the spine to help reach the tail back. Feel a little deeper stretch in that left hip. And then carefully coming up and out of that. Good. We'll come to the top of the mat again. Big breath in. Hands to chest center as we hinge forward. And then round. Inhale, flat back, halfway lift. Rolling the shoulders back, reaching the chest forward. And then melting down. And then carefully stepping one leg back and the other. One more downward dog of the practice. And we're going to move into a modified variation of pigeon. So we'll take the right knee forward towards the right wrist, but then sit down onto the right hip. You can bring your left foot forward, and then just bring your right foot and right knee so they're parallel to the front of the mat if that's comfortable for your body. And then with the back as flat as you can, we're going to hinge forward. So as if we're reaching our chest towards the center of our shin. And then maybe you land on forearms. Maybe you stack fists and rest your forehead, or stack hands. Or maybe your hips are a little more open than mine and you fold all the way over the legs. Whatever feels good. And we'll stay here for a little longer than some of our other poses. The hips often need a little extra love, a little extra attention to help release and let go. So breathing deeply here, inviting the sensation of relaxation. Give your body the message that it's safe and it's okay to release. It's okay to let go and relax. Let's take one more full deep breath here. Again, inviting in the release. And then you can either choose to stay there for a little longer, or you can lift your trunk up a little bit. We'll turn to the right. So now we're aiming a little more towards that right hip. So taking a little bit of a twist and then lowering yourself down. So feel free to stay forward towards the shin if that's a better option for you. Or you can lay down here, settling into a little bit of a twist. You might start to feel a little more opening through the left hip. So maybe you want to walk that left knee back. That's fine. So finding ease in the posture as much as you can. And from here, we'll take one more deep breath together, in whatever posture you're in. And then making our way up carefully, unwinding towards the front of the mat. We'll switch legs. So now the left knee and ankle are square towards the front of the mat. The right leg is turned in and just slightly behind you perhaps, or maybe it's right next to you. So whatever feels good for that right hip. We'll lift the posture up tall and then hinging forward over that leg. So the hips are often quite imbalanced. So if you need a different option for this side, feel free to take it. So maybe you're on the forearms, maybe you're on stacked fists, maybe you're on stacked flat hands. So the goal would be to find a place that you can rest. And that might mean a block or a blanket is in front of you if you have any yoga props around. Or maybe the option is to simply close the eyes, tune in, and think of allowing the sensations that you feel to be acknowledged first, and then allow them to pass. So you invite release, you invite relaxation, you welcome it into your body. We honor the difference between our sides. And then you can either, again, stay there for a little longer, or you can add the rotation. So turning the trunk towards the left hip, and then leaning over that side. And again, you might want to wiggle the right knee back a little bit if that feels like it gives you a little more opening across the front of that side of the body. Resting down. As you rest here, scanning the body to see if perhaps there are any points in the body that you could relax a little more deeply. Taking one more nice deep breath here, and then bringing yourself up. We'll carefully bring that right leg around, and we'll make our way onto our back. So take your time, rolling yourself down. And when you get down, let's bring the knees into the chest, hugging them in, taking that moment of gratitude for your practice, the time you've spent here today. And then from there, we'll keep the knees pulling into the chest as we widen the arms out to the sides. And then we'll bring both knees over to the right. And then as they rest on the floor, perhaps turning and looking over your left shoulder if that feels good. And twists are one area where the breath really can assist the deepening of the posture. So breathing in, and as you breathe out, feel the softening, feel the release into the twist. And then with your next exhale, use the abdominals to help you pull the knees back, and then we'll take them over to the other side. So carefully rolling the knees over to your left, and maybe looking over your right shoulder if that feels good. So settling in, finding ease. And then with your next exhale, using the abdominals to help you pull the knees back to center. And then we'll carefully lower the feet down and stretching the legs out long. We're going to take a side bend here. So the feet can work their way over to the right side of the mat. And then we can either take the arms long overhead, also to the right side of the mat, or if it's more comfortable to support your head with your hands, that's fine. So feel what allows you to rest into the posture. And maybe closing the eyes as we start to wind down, as we start to spend a little longer in held postures. And if this is a time where your mind is wandering elsewhere, continue to bring your attention back to your breath. And we'll carefully take our time going over to the other side. So the feet will walk over to the left side of the mat, and then the upper body wiggles over. That's such a graceful way to get there, right? So again, either reaching the arms overhead or taking the hands under the head. You can try both and see what suits you best. We're looking for as much ease and relaxation in the posture as we can find. Again, closing the eyes, turning your attention inward, noticing the sensations as they arise without judgment, without expectations of what you should feel. Just simply notice. And we'll carefully work our way back to the middle of the mat, stretching the legs out long. If there's any final postures you would like to take here or practice here before we go into our final rest, do that now. Otherwise, settle in for Savasana. So legs can be outstretched long, letting the legs turn out naturally. Arms by your side, maybe palms up towards the ceiling. If your low back is feeling any pull here, you might either put something under your knees, or if that's not available, bend the knees, taking them wide, and let the knees rest together so that you don't have to do any work to hold this posture. And once you find a comfortable posture, closing the eyes if they're not already. Bringing your attention inward as you scan the body, relaxing the very top of the head, all the tiny muscles around the eyes and the forehead. Softening the cheeks, unhinge the jaw, part the teeth, and continue that relaxation all the way down the body. And settling in for a few moments of silence, peace in the body, in the mind. Deepening the breath once more. Bring some gentle movements to the body. Perhaps stretching in any way that feels good for you. And staying as relaxed as you can. Let's roll onto our right side for a moment. Then you can use your left hand to press yourself up to seated. And closing the eyes once more. Let's take one more deep breath together, lifting the arms up. Joining the hands together and bringing them down to your heart. Take one more moment here to thank yourself for taking this time to honor your body, honor your mind and your well-being. And I also thank you for joining me today. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day.